The St. Charles County Veterans Museum is a 501c3 nonprofit business. The museum would not exist without the donations of our generous community. Your donations ensure the museum continues to share and preserve the stories of our veterans. Would you like to be part of something special? To donate, visit sccvetsmuseum.org and click on Donate. Welcome to the Dog Tag Podcast at the St. Charles County Veterans Museum, live from the O'Fallon Elks Lodge for the Songs for Heroes. Today is September 2nd, and I have my co-host Dominic Masters, United States Marine Combat Veteran, and our first guest today is Collins Horton. Welcome, Collins.
Thank you very much.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
What's going on?
Man, I tell you, it is. It's an absolute honor to be here with you, gentlemen, and it's been a whirlwind past 3 days. I can say that.
I guess so. You guys have been working hard.
You know, yes, we have. We've worked very hard and diligently, and you know, I think the biggest pressure we probably all put it on ourselves is we just want to do these stories justice.
Sure. And
that's the weight that we've kind of put on our own shoulders. And you know, at the end of the rites, I was very fortunate that I wrote 4 songs and 5 incredible veterans, because I had a husband and wife yesterday, and you know, it's just to see, you can almost see the weight coming off their shoulders as they're telling their stories. And you know, it was really eye-opening because a couple of them even mentioned that, you know, we were the second or third people that they've told this to.
Wow.
And, you know, some of those were Vietnam vets,
right,
that they've been carrying that story for over 50 years and haven't told anybody. Yeah. I don't know how they do it. I don't.
Well, I think coming from a Iraq War generation guy, they didn't have what we have now. You know, so they weren't even given that option, which when I think about those guys and gals, but the Vietnam era, we're so lucky these days. Myself included, you know, we the veterans coming home, we're so lucky because we have this great support system and therapy and all kinds of other things going on. So remember those guys, they were all pissed at them when they got home. Exactly. And it's like, how terrible.
I know, isn't that awful?
Yeah.
Isn't that awful? And then just from some of the stories that I've heard, especially about Vietnam, to think that they came back and then were treated so poorly after witnessing such hell, I can't fathom that. I don't know if I can say pisses me off.
Yes,
but
this is an open mic. Anything you want to say.
It pisses me off.
Me too.
To no end.
As a Marine, our dress blues are something that we covet so highly. My mom worked with a gentleman, and when he got back, United States Marine fighting in Vietnam, everybody has heard stories and read about what they had to go through over there. It's unreal. This man threw his it messes me up talking about it. He threw his dress blues in the trash can at the airport because he's an African American gentleman, in the 60s, 70s, and then he didn't want to feel what his own people were going to spit on my dress blues when I get home from doing what I just did. Wow. This man threw his dress blues. I mean, it's something that we hold so dearly. And so that kind of stuff, it wrecks me about the way we treated those people back then. But
I don't want to take the thunder from some of the songs, but, you know, after each day with all the writers, we're all in the same hotel and we're sharing rooms and, you know, kind of get in and talk about our experience in the story and kind of telling that story to other writers and a little bit about that song. And I can just tell you this, that there are some songs that I think definitely, at least to me as a listener, some of the songs that I've already heard, I was floored. Just the stories, and I think we certainly put our best foot forward to capture that emotion as best we can. And I don't know that music truly can completely capture it.
I think it's damn close.
I think it's close, but I don't know that there's a way to really say what needs to be said.
Well,
so we certainly tried.
It's a hell of a way to try, though. You know what I mean? If you can do something and you're a musician, I think it's a really good thing. Yeah. Let me interview you for a second.
Sure.
So I read about you. I've been investigating, and you have been a musician from a little boy.
Yeah, my mother was a church pianist. My grandfather was a Baptist pastor, and she was playing congregational piano from age 7 until, anytime we'd go visit them. And that's where music really kind of set in for me. It was my mother. And so, yeah, I played, off and on through high school, college. As soon as I could pick up a guitar and learn to play it, I started writing songs.
That's what I hear.
And it kind of became, my medium to get – I was a jock. I was a football, baseball, track, athlete, and that was my way of just kind of venting a little bit.
Sure.
And just really kind of set in. And I remember thinking about my grandfather. I've got several songs about him, but when I got my first guitar, I think I was 11 at Christmas. My grandfather was over there, and I heard him in the corner kind of mumble. He's like, "Oh, he'll never learn how to play that." So I'd like to think if he could be here with us now to see what music has become, and now it's an outlet to be able to come and try to share my gift with
absolutely
such incredible men and women in uniform. I think he'd be tickled pink.
A gift that he had a huge part in giving you anyway.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean. He was a huge motivator for you. So
yeah, I think some of the reason I probably learned as fast as I did because I was self-taught too. I didn't take any lessons. And,
wow.
I think some of that was just to show him
absolutely.
up. Just saying, no, okay, I heard what you said, and I'm going to get you back.
Yeah, it's a competition, a friendly one, even a loving family one, but it's a
Then he comes back, a year or so later for Christmas, and all of a sudden I'm playing him songs in the living room. He's like,
son of a gun.
I'll be danged.
Yeah.
He figured it out, yeah.
Well, you already kind of touched on the impact that talking to the veterans in the past few days and writing songs for them, the impact that had on you. Have you ever been a part of anything like this, Songs for Heroes? Outside of you caring about it, your personal self, and going through all this as a civilian with your countrymen and women fighting for all these years, have you ever been able to do anything like this before?
Not something organized like this. A lot of my friends, I've got 9 Marine cousins on, I guess that's on my dad's side. My grandfather was a United States Army Air Force World War II vet. My great uncle was a Marine vet in World War II, and so military's always been near and dear to my heart. I thought I was going to end up playing college ball, which is why I didn't opt for the military path. But that being said, I've got a lot of friends. I've always gravitated towards our law enforcement, first responders,
Absolutely.
military. A lot of good friends, and I used to do a little bit of competitive shooting, and so I got to meet a lot of those guys, and most of them had some kind of military background. And we'd get done on the range, doing some drills and everything, and they'd just kind of start telling their stories. And a lot of them, had suffered or were suffering through PTSD. So I've got a couple of songs that I've written about it, but, that's just my perspective from what they've told me.
Right.
And they weren't in the room when I was writing it, to kind of correct me and be like, that's maybe not accurate, maybe not.
Sure.
So this was really cool because it was, we'd write a line and be like, is that right?
Right.
Making sure we get the narrative right.
Yeah.
And they were very candid with us, like, no, that's not right. And so, like, all right, let's fix it.
Yeah.
And so that was really neat to have such an organized deal and to be able to have that 3-hour one-on-one time with them to make sure we got their story right.
Yeah.
And then we play it down at the end. And, of course, it's very rough because it's just written. And so tonight will be the first time they've really gotten to hear it since we've kind of polished them up. And,
awesome.
Well, we were kind of joking in the car ride over, and I said, I'm going to have to be staring at my phone or closing my eyes because if I look out at these vets that I've been with, I'm going to lose it.
I lost it a couple times yesterday during the process of writing the song, so it's like, shit, you guys must be doing something right,
Yeah, well, the car ride here is about 5 hours, and there's 4 of us in our vehicle, and we were talking. I was like, I have a feeling the car ride tomorrow is going to be pretty somber and quiet. I think it's just going to be kind of a decompress, from some very, very heavy stories. And I got to tip my hat to all the men and women that I've sat with because they trusted us with their story.
Yeah, it's a big
deal. They talked
deal.
about things they hadn't talked about with many people.
Sure.
And that's an honor and a privilege to be entrusted with that.
Absolutely.
But it's again, kind of seeing that weight come off their shoulders and in some degree you kind of feel like it gets put on yours, but damn, I'm proud to help carry it.
It's therapeutic.
If I can help carry that weight, absolutely.
And what you just said about that car ride home being somber, some people could come here to write a cool song and get it on the radio or something. But the fact that you're taking it that way, I can tell you personally, means a lot to me.
I appreciate
and I know it means a lot to everyone else, military and civilian. So thanks for everything.
Oh, man, no, it's my privilege, it's my honor to be a part of this. And
Right on.
I'll tell you. I'll just say that, and I'm gonna put we're recording this, so it actually was said. But if I don't get invited on the next one, I'm gonna be furious.
I'll have you on there for sure because I've got the same paperwork at home, and we're gonna get the same crew, and then maybe plus some. So
and I feel like I've made some very good friends with not only some of these other writers. Sometimes some of these writers, first time I've written with them.
Right, I heard that yesterday,
which was really neat.
That's
you know,
wild.
and that's the community back in Nashville is writers. You know, you write with new people all the time, and you become friends. You know, we have that common interest in music and that passion, and so I've made some friends there. But also, you know, these veterans, I've gotten to be with people that are part of the St. Charles Veterans Museum.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to come back and spend hours in
Please
there.
Please do, because it's a great museum.
Absolutely.
Well, Colin's thinking about the museum. It's your first time here in St. Charles County at the museum. What was your impression of the museum and our focus on telling the story versus collecting stuff?
Nobody told me what the museum was about. I didn't really look it up. I knew the name of it, and we got there, and then we kind of got to do a tour day one. Drove straight to the museum, and I mean, you're in that door for 30 seconds. And you're like, holy cow, this is absolutely amazing because this is not a war museum. This is a veterans. These are stories about men and women, and then you see their photograph next to their uniform, and for those that that survived, and then you see an older picture of them, or they're a volunteer at the museum, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it's neat.
And as a songwriter, I'm a storyteller type songwriter, and so I'm always enamored by its story.
You've got albums in there, don't you?
Man, yeah, right. I mean, good grief,
wheels are spinning.
Oh, I mean, you walk in and you just go, yeah, I want to sit down with every single one of those binders. I think it's 458.
There's a lot of them. Well,
Something
you're sitting with one of them, so
yeah,
I'll tell you anything you want.
Yeah, well, I got to hear a little bit about your story from the guy Hal, I guess, that you wrote with yesterday.
Hal and Craig,
and he was kind of telling me a little bit about your story, and it's just it's amazing, and I'm so glad that they had that thought to do that. That is so cool.
Yeah. Well,
their stories will live on for
absolutely.
generations and generations, as they should, as every veteran's story should.
Yeah. Well, and like Jason was saying, it is about the stories, but I always, and I try to go up there as much as I can and help out and do the podcast and all that, but looking at some of those, the World War II stuff, I'm not into the war because, of course, it was horrible, but it's a huge part of our history, and to see some of those relics, it's just like, wow, this thing made it from Europe, and just the whole thing behind a guy or a gal keeping something like that for all these years, and then feeling like the same way I did, this stuff would be better off somewhere where other people can learn from it, enjoy it, history and all that stuff. So it's like some of those things in there, man, I look at them and I'm like, that's a completely different world than it's so impactful and then you read the story and it's like, forget it. I walk through there and cry the whole time. I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore, and I go home. But
to me, maybe I'm different, but it grounds you. It keeps you extremely humble. I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail with it, but to see the flag disrespected in any way, I don't care for what cause, it offended me because I've got a lot of family members there, and to see the honor that these veterans and these stories, that's what every single veteran deserves. That
it's a problem.
It is a problem. It is a problem, and I didn't get to hear. I guess whatever went down. I guess was it in Congress or the Senate? So apparently, I know our president got put in his place a little bit. Sounds like the last day or so, but yeah, there's a huge epidemic, and there's not enough being done, and
Well, those flags are coming home over coffins of guys that have given the ultimate sacrifice.
Right.
And that's just one piece of it, right?
Right.
Yeah. And to me, that's really, really important. You know why for me, Dominic.
Absolutely. Yeah, a couple of my brothers had those flags over their coffins, and it's like it is a problem. And, if anything, these songs might help people understand that, man. So you're doing more than you think coming from the other side of this table.
Absolutely.
Not literally this table, but, from the veteran side, Marine side, military, all that. You're doing more than I think you could even understand. And I know I can see the realness in your eye. I can feel that this is serious to you, but it means a lot, and it's very serious to us too.
Well, I appreciate that. I can tell you that we've been posting, kind of talking about trying to help build this with awareness.
Right.
And I know every one of us we've talked about, there's dozens of writers back in Nashville. They're like, why didn't I get invited to this?
Come on up.
So, I mean,
let's do it again.
There is not going to be a problem getting more writers up here to have this opportunity to hear the stories and to use their gifts, because they want to give. They want to give back. And, as a civilian trying to write a song about what a soldier experiences, you can't without sitting down with that individual.
Absolutely.
And every story is so there's some commonality, I think, within all the songs that you'll hear. And I think that's probably just part of being a soldier.
Yeah,
brotherhood and some things. But then there's the very unique individual stories about, and you could see when we were asking them questions. That was hard too, because we kind of tried to preface with each of them, just hey, we want you to share what you're comfortable sharing. We realize that we're just now meeting, but and you could see the pain in their eyes talking about it.
I mean, real.
You could genuinely see it. It's just, guys, I don't know what to say about it.
You don't have to say much more. I think you've done it.
Yeah,
you said it.
It's
yeah,
heavy.
You said it.
Listen, man, we're going to let you get back to sound check, and I know you got plenty of stuff to do to get ready.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us,
Thank you for your service, and
man.
welcome home, sir.
We appreciate you. Thank you very much,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Collins.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night. We'll see you up there.
Thank you, guys.
Get on it.
And that has been Collins Horton. Thank you so much. Dominic, let's go ahead and continue with your experience over the past few days of telling your story and having a song written. Give me a little feedback on what that experience was like for you, and kind of what kind of emotion was behind there, and what you felt.
So you know how music has been a part of our lives since I don't even remember ZZ Top and Tom Petty in the car with my mom. As young as I can remember, music's been such a huge part of my life. But to see how a song is made and like how they go through, and it's not just rhyming words. There's a platform or what's it called when you have like a way of doing things. There's a
strategy.
Yeah, totally. And so watching them do that, it was a really neat experience. So basically, they sat back. Hal and Craig and I went in this little room, and they sat back and we just started kind of talking. And then they were asking me questions, and then they come up with a line, and Hal would grab his guitar and riff for a minute and then sing this line. And he's got this voice this is just my story, of course, but he's got this voice that just like reaches out, and you're like, whoa. But the way they come up with verses and bridges and hooks and the whole thing, it was the whole songwriting thing was super cool to me.
Was there kind of a feeling of expression that was coming out of you as they were riffing and writing these words after you had told your story, where like you felt, man, this is really telling my story? Absolutely.
But so not being a musical artist myself, I don't know again what that looks like. So I'm like, and it was funny because they said, hey man, start talking. Like, if you think of something, say it, because as songwriters, we can flip that around and make it something else. So maybe you don't think it makes sense right now, but say it anyway. And a couple times it worked, and it was just wild how they're like. But another thing, and Collins was just saying it, they wanted to be respectful and say the right things and use terms in the right way, and they did, man. It was like, hey, would you guys say this? Or, sorry guys, but we wouldn't say that. And they're like, done, it's out. Or would you guys say this? And I'm like, actually I would, or I have before, and they would leave that in. So they were so cool about making sure that it was detailed down to the nuts and bolts,
Very artistic, but true to the story, true to what you were saying, and really being professional about it. That sounds amazing.
They didn't want to write a song for them.
Right.
They wanted to write a song for veterans, not me specifically, but veterans, period. So they wanted it to be as accurate as it could be.
Absolutely.
And it was really cool.
That was cool, man. So you worked with Craig and
Hal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And about how long did it take to kind of go through the process?
I think ours was like 3.5 hours.
Okay.
And you know me, man, I'm a talker. That's probably why I'm on here with you. But I wanted to give them as much as I could, because I don't know what it takes to write a song. So I wanted to give them like as much as there could be given, for them to turn it into something. And so I helped these guys write a song, so of course I'm going to like it. But I genuinely think the song is awesome. And they asked me, it was funny too, Hal said, or it might have been Craig, either way, what kind of music do you kind of lean towards when you're in the truck? And I'm like, I'm a little more on the heavy side. Hal picked up his guitar and like heavier country notes, and I'm like, that's the vibe, right? You know, so I'm gonna listen to this song myself because I think it's a good song. So it was really cool.
Awesome.
And they're going to take it home and master it and mix it and get a whole band behind it and the whole deal. Yeah. Okay. So I was asking Hal, I'm like, hey, man, well, I have the rights to use this for my intro and outro. For my He was like, absolutely, it's yours. I'm
that'd
cool,
be awesome, man. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, coming up here in just a few minutes, we've got Walter. Walter is one of the veterans. He was also part of a songwriting endeavor with me yesterday. He worked with a couple different artists. I don't know exactly who that is, but he's going to come over. He's a 101st Airborne guy. Pretty cool dude. I was talking to him for a little bit yesterday, so it was neat to talk to him. But we're going to get him in here and kind of get his little story from yesterday. He's not as tall as these country boys. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Eason will be coming here talking to us in a few minutes. He is the organizer of this whole thing we got going on. Come on over, Walter. All right, Walter, what's your last name, sir?
Sitzwall.
Walter.
Yeah.
I talked to you a little while yesterday. You were part of the songwriting, what would we call what happened yesterday, the whole endeavor.
Endeavor and experience, yeah.
And experience, yeah. So what did you think? Who did you work with? Let's start out with that. What artist did you work with?
I worked with Joel and Colin, I think his
name
is.
Collins.
Colin.
Yeah, Collins Horton. We just talked to him.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did you think about like their approach?
I really enjoyed it, as a matter of fact, and they really paid attention to what we had to say.
Right.
And really worked with what we said we did and what we experienced, and I think it really went well. It was total interest, and I was a total focus of all their attention.
I know. What did you think? We were just talking about the respect that they had for getting things correct. I'm Marine Corps, your Army, but the respect that they brought to it about making sure that those are things we would say, or that the guys in 101st would say.
Yes, absolutely, yes. They paid it, like I said, they paid really close attention to not only just to every bit of what I had to say.
Details.
From the details, from the time I enlisted to the time I came home.
Right.
So I spent a little bit of time there, so it's
yeah. I think they're doing a great thing, and the way they went about it to me was very professional, very respectful.
Yes.
You know, I think they checked all the boxes for what they're supposed to be doing here.
Yes,
so
they did. They really did, and got. I could feel like they were a part of me.
Absolutely.
Or I was a part of them.
Absolutely. It was a relationship, kind of an intimate relationship.
Yes.
From people you've never met before.
Never met.
You know, songwriters and some non-military, and it's just like you can still click with people, and I think that's an important thing about music, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Music brings the best out of everybody, I
think so too.
And
would you say that it was healing?
Healing, it's
therapeutic.
Therapeutic.
It was therapeutic.
Therapeutic.
I agree.
Okay, the healing will come when I'm long gone. So.
Okay, I hear that.
I hear you. But the therapeutic part.
The therapeutic
part is truly there.
I agree.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Well, hey, sir, thank you very much for stopping by and talking to us. You've got your lovely date here, so we're going to let you guys get in and have some fun tonight.
Oh, thank you very much.
We'll see you in there, okay?
Yeah, she is. She is a doll.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
She's a lucky woman,
okay,
huh?
Yes.
All right, thanks, Walter. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, we've got the man, the myth, the legend coming in. He's drinking water.
I don't know why this water's brown.
Mr. John Eason.
What's going on,
Thanks
brother?
for coming to talk to us, brother.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
It's going.
You are an 8-year Air Force?
8-year Air Force.
8 year, 5 deployments?
5 deployments.
A little close. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you've done your time. What about this was so important for you to start to follow through with? Because we know that good ideas are great ideas, but sometimes following through with those ideas, coming up here from Nashville, getting all these guys and gals together, working this whole thing out. Where did that come from for you?
Well,
why are you here?
I mean, the big thing, I guess, the root of this and what makes me so passionate is because music is the thing that saved my life.
Sure.
And I honestly don't believe I'd be here talking to you right now if it wasn't for music. But, I came down to Nashville and started chasing this music dream, and they brought me here to play at Two Shamrocks.
Okay.
And I got the chance to go into the museum. And
Just by chance, or because you?
So Brian Judy, who runs Freedom Jam, took me in there because he thought, you're a veteran, you'll want to check this out.
Great.
And, like, the day I walked into the St. Charles Veterans Museum, it was like nothing else I'd ever been to before.
Right.
Like, I'm sure you've been to a ton of, like,
No.
military museums and things.
That's the best one.
And there's nothing like it because usually you get to see this is this war, this is this war, this is the general who was involved
Right.
in it. But St. Charles is not that. This is the individuals.
The small
that were
guys.
involved in it. This is the boots on the ground, the everyday man that really makes up the world. And there are too many times the little man is forgotten about. And I was just, as soon as I walked out of there, I told Brian, I said, man, we got to do something with this. Like, we need to come and write songs here. And the first thought was we would take the binders and we would write about the binders.
Right,
and
right.
we could pull stories from there. But then I thought, no, there's these other operations that do similar to what we're doing.
Correct.
I want to do something similar to that where we bring the vets in, we do 2 days of this, and then we perform it. And so it's all raw and it's all emotion.
Right.
And they're getting to share their stories, and we're getting to do all this stuff together. And so then a month and a half ago, we just started beating on this thing, and we started looking for sponsors. We started planning. We started looking for people, and we found some great people to come up here. And it's just kind of been this whirlwind thing that seems to be growing right now.
How many years ago was this when you came to play and went to the museum? When did that?
It was like 6 months ago, 8
Oh,
months
wow.
ago.
Okay.
It has not
Quick
been that
turnaround
long.
time.
Okay, right. So that shows we're going to do this, and we're going to do it like soon.
And if you think
know,
about that, Dominic, the museum has an impact on so many people, and for it to have that impact 6 months ago and for it to be what we're doing right now tonight is an amazing story in itself.
Well, listen, there are museums closer to Nashville.
Absolutely.
They didn't have to come all the way up here is what I'm saying. But obviously in that museum, folks, if you don't know, you would drive by it if there wasn't a sign on the road.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it used to be the water company's old main office.
Sure.
That got turned into this.
Museum. Yeah, Brian said he lived here for I can't remember how many years and had no idea it was there.
Right.
And then finally found it, and he was so, awed by everything there
Yeah.
that he just had to go in and see
That's
it.
an
and take
amazing.
people
That's an
there.
amazing thing. A water company. Water is life, and now the stories
Of
are kept
preservation.
alive
Yeah.
in an old water company building.
So shout out to all the great men and women at the museum that have made
Absolutely.
it that great that singer-songwriters want to come back here from,
Oh, goodness.
we don't get a whole lot of travelers coming through St. It's a great place to live, don't get me wrong, but this isn't the hot spot for music and entertainment and all that stuff. So for you guys to want to come back up here.
Well, they treated us like we were kings and queens.
Yeah.
I mean, they really did. And, we're all spoiled now, and we're going to go home and expect to be waited on hand and foot.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do because nobody's waiting on me hand and foot.
Yeah. Well, and I believe because I've seen it. Being up there, I've seen them talk to people that walk in the door. It's not because you're a musician and an artist, and
It's
yes,
everybody.
Yes, it helps
It's
because
their
you're a vet,
heart.
but
Yeah,
that's
their
just
big
who they are.
heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether they are former military or not, everybody that walks in that door gets the same treatment, and it's
yeah.
like it's a fun place. Well, it's not fun all the time, but it's a very interesting historical. The kids have a. What's that called when kids
Scavenger hunt.
I never remember what this kid. So there's stuff to do for the kids, but it's like they treat everyone that way, and I think that
They're learning history by doing it. It's not just a game. You know?
And how do they know all of those stories? I'm still clueless. I have no idea, but it's like they do their homework and they read about.
Well, they dig and they hunt, and you can tell they're passionate about it because you don't remember things you're not passionate about.
For sure.
If they weren't passionate about it, they could say, hey, here's a binder, check it out.
Right.
It's about so and
We'll be over there if you need me.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
But they don't do that. Hey, this is so, and they did this and this and this, and then they'll tell you 100 things of this person. They can tell you the dates and everything. It's just amazing.
You could get the guy or gal's kids in there. They go, I didn't know that shit. It's
Exactly.
like, they'll teach you stuff about yourself. They tell me stuff I did. I'm like, wait a minute, when was that?
Well, John, we want to know a little bit about you, man. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you came up in this business or this industry, and your passion for this, and a little bit about your where you're coming from.
Well, I'm from Louisiana originally. That's where I was born. But I joke with people that I'm a man of the world. As soon as I could start moving around and leaving the South, I started moving around.
The
So
gypsy.
I am. I mean, where's it at?
Other arm.
Other arm, yeah,
Yep.
the check, yeah.
Gypsy life.
So I've kind of lived all over the place. I'm I like to do things. If something's interested me, I try it. So I went to culinary school. I've always been passionate about cooking and art and things. And then Hurricane Katrina hit, killed my bakery. I had to open the bakery for 2 days. And knocked all 4 walls down, lost everything.
2 days after opening.
2 days after opening it. Oh. And just destroyed everything. So naturally, that would put a bad taste in your mouth.
Sure. Well, to hell with cooking.
Exactly. Yeah, I was mad.
Right.
So
I can understand that.
I went and started on a hauling crew down in New Orleans to clean up. And I thought, I don't want to do this. I'm doing it because it makes money right now. So I thought, I'll join the military. And so I went and signed up. I had to get back in shape and everything to pass all the stuff. And then took off to San Antonio, to Lackland to do basic training and everything. And then I was at McGuire for my entire career, which I did not expect to be. And, I did the 5 tours over there in Iraq and Afghanistan. And you know what? People joke, and you could probably relate to this. Deployments, in a way, are very hard, but in a way, they're very easy. It's such a simple thing.
It's structure.
It's eat, sleep, don't die.
Right, workout.
And here, I got to worry about what I'm going to eat. I got to worry about where my food's coming from. I got to worry about getting here to pay this bill and do this. Over there, you didn't do it. You went to your dorm, you went to work. You went to your dorm, and you went to work.
Structure.
Exactly. And so, but as far as music, I grew up doing music with my family. My family toured and did gospel. My dad played in a Southern rock band. My uncles were singers. My brother plays. My sister can sing. My mom can sing. So it's just been in my blood. It's
such a Southern thing. You guys are all just talented.
Well, and I played in band in high school. I played a bunch of different brass instruments, and it's just been always there. And I did always want to do something with this. But a lot of times with art, it falls to the wayside of get a real job.
Right.
And so I tried to do that, and I found out in the end, I don't like having a real job.
Yeah, I hear you.
And
music gets people through their real job.
Exactly.
Right.
And plus, I don't like being told what to do.
Right.
So if I can be my own boss.
You had 8 years of that, right?
Oh, goodness gracious. It took every bit of the patience out of me for listening to somebody tell me what to do. I can't do this anymore.
How many times were you told, you can't be, it's fun to do on the side down at the bars in Nashville, but this isn't a living. You should go, because that throws people off.
You'll still hear it today.
Yeah.
You'll still be, oh, man, you'll never make a living doing that. You'll never do this. And listen, I understand, because people don't see art like this as a viable career. And we don't get paid like it's a viable career.
401ks.
We're getting screwed out there right now on royalties and streams and what it costs. Because it used to be, if you got a number 1 hit, you were set.
That's it.
These days, no.
Everybody's got one.
I mean, there's so much stuff. Now, it's easy to put music out. We have that. But there's so many people out there doing this that you're really not really selling albums and selling streams. You're selling T-shirts.
Right.
That's where you make money.
Right.
Yeah.
How many T-shirts can I sell?
Yeah. So, but that whole thing with, this isn't a viable option, that's all up to the individual, too, because I personally, money's good to have with kids and a wife and a house. It's all great, but being a gypsy like yourself, I've done a little bit of traveling. I've learned that I don't need a whole lot. So my happiness to me is worth way more than some stupid paycheck you can give me.
I tell people all the time, I've had a lot and I've had a little, and all that I need is enough.
That's when I don't, all that stuff brings more.
It's more pain.
It ties you down.
I don't need all that shit.
What are you going to spend it on? I mean,
what you own owns you? I don't think so. I'd get rid of this truck today and be fine.
Right?
And it's like I'll figure out a different way to get there, but good for you for sticking with it, man.
Well, and where there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
And I was going to do this no matter what. And there's been times where, hey, it's thin right now. I got to go work a side job. I've gave plasma for a month or two.
Sure.
Because I needed some extra cash. I went and hauled debris for people. I've done everything.
Yeah.
If you got to do something to keep this dream going, that's what you do.
Sure.
And too many people setting aside going, I'll play this, and, my plan A, though, is music. Well, plan A real quick turns to plan C, D, and, so on down the line.
Well, what keeps you going, John, when it gets tough like that?
It's just the love of, honestly, kind of what we're doing right now is telling real stories and real music to people. And you could be so down on this, and you can go play a gig, and this one person walks up and tells you how much a song affected them.
That's it.
So that's my life. You just told me my life, and I've never met you before.
That's it.
And it just lights that fire, and stokes it in you. And this weekend and this week really has been that for me. It's it's re-stoked my fire, because playing some of these 4-hour cover gigs and stuff, they really beat you down.
Sure.
I mean, you turn into a jukebox for people or your background noise at a sports bar.
Yeah.
You know, you're just trying to make a buck, but man, it just hurts sometimes. And you will be physically leaving a place just exhausted, just beat down.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. So I was thinking about this. Sometimes as veterans, doing things to support a cause, PTSD, addiction, whatever it is,
sure.
It's not, I don't want to say watered down, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. How do you stay focused? Like, because you're, in a sense, you're doing something to help yourself, right? So, like, it does have something to do with you specifically, but
sure. How
do you stay motivated and keep that, let's do this for these people, when you are one of these people?
Oh, man. You know, I think because this thing really is the thing that saved me,
okay,
it makes me passionate about sharing it with other people because I want them to understand. And it's my soapbox, kind of, in
right.
a way. Like
Right.
I don't want to preach to people, but I want to share my story and hope that it helps somebody. Like, Brother, I've Been There, the song we wrote about PTSD and coming through the other side of it was my song that was, here's my hand reaching out to you in the darkness to say, I understand.
I'm with you.
And, like, folks have come up to me and said, I listened to that and I knew you'd been through everything I've been through.
That's it, man.
And our demons were the same demons.
That's powerful.
And I said, that's what I want.
Absolutely.
But when we wrote it, I felt so guilty, too, releasing the song. And people were like, what do you feel guilty for? I said, that's a song you should not profit from. That's not a song for profit.
Right.
It's a song to share and help people. And I wouldn't play it. I wouldn't share it. I didn't push it because I felt guilty and I felt icky. And then I said, I know what to do. We will donate all the profits that we ever make off of this song to a mental health for veterans group. We'll find somebody that we want to do, and then I can push it. Then it's serving its true purpose. And I don't have to feel bad because I never wanted to put something out that. I mean, what a horrible thing to do to try
nasty
to prop
business.
it up or something like
right,
that.
Right.
And I never wanted to do that. And so that's kind of helped push this. And then coming into this as well, working with these guys, I was already there because I had to lay myself bare to write those songs. So going through that process, it's almost like you're holding their hands and, man, I've been there. I've done this before. So let me tell you how this works.
It's vulnerable.
And it is.
You know,
I mean, you did it.
But that vulnerability, I think, is key to making magic. I really do. Whether it's music or just talking to a group of guys or gals or whoever it is, man, letting them know that you're not just an outsider or a bystander that, like, I read this book and it says here PTSD can cause you to not sleep. It's like, dude, I've not slept for days, but you know what I mean? And so being able to relate makes it, I think you could be more artistic in your way. Sure. You know,
the guys I wrote with this week, I shared my deep, dark secrets with them, just reciprocating to let them know, listen, if you can be honest, I can be honest.
Right.
I can tell you how I've been, where I've been, who my demons are.
Yeah.
That way you know that I trust you and you can trust me.
Right.
So
I think about stuff, and addiction was a huge part of my coming home. The war was one thing, but my real shit started when I got back. And I hate to go up to people, and I don't go up to people and go, hey, I'm Dominic, I'm a former drug. But when we start talking about those things, that is the most current fight that I've had in my life. It's been 7 years, thankfully, but it can resonate with so many people. So I hate to just jump right out, but I think in my in my life, it's been this kind of, I'm opening up my book, my Pandora's box, my whatever to you. So I think it lets people kind of let their guard down a little and know that, all right, this isn't some dude that's going to judge me because he's been a real motherfucker himself.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that helps I think that really helps people open up to you.
it does. Like you said, that's saying I trusted you enough to give you all of my deep dark stuff. So now you can trust enough to give it to
Judge me or not.
Yeah,
I'm here. I'm open too.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm willing to lay myself bare to help you out.
Yeah, right.
And you're putting yourself on the line.
Yeah,
you know?
And it can be like shameful and embarrassing. You know, no one wants to talk about their days of being a total fucking idiot.
Who likes talking about your darkest days? I mean, but
it's going to help somebody.
Right. I do it if it helps.
Exactly.
If it'll help, I'll do some worse shit than that.
We talked about it the other day. To me, when I started talking about things, not holding it all in, was like that pressure valve on a machine. When you start to open that thing up and you start to let some off, man, what a weight.
Yeah.
You feel just, it just shrinks you down. You're like, oh, my God, what
you
is
can breathe.
this? Yeah. All that anxiety and stuff. And not to say it doesn't come back. PTSD really is a constant battle. You're going to have good, you're going to have bad, you're going to have dark, you're going to have light.
For sure.
but you can learn how to let it off. You can learn those coping mechanisms and thing. And so,
Well, hey, man, we know you've got a ton of stuff to do out there. Thanks for stopping by and talking to us.
Appreciate y'all. No, thank y'all so much.
Thanks for everything, putting this back together. And I don't think we're going to let this go too easy. I think we're going to have to get you guys back up here somehow.
No, we'd like to do a remote with you, too, if we can.
No. We're going to go down to Nashville and experience Nashville. How about that?
We'll come on a tour. We'll do it.
I've never been, so
that's even better, man.
Exactly.
I like that.
We'll have to sponsor ourselves and go to Nashville.
We will sponsor ourselves. That's a done deal.
We'll go jam out for a couple days.
Yeah. I bet I know some people who can help you out.
I think you might.
Awesome, man.
Well, thanks for stopping by, brother. We're going to try to get everybody in here. If anybody in there wants to come chat with us,
I'll send some folks
send them
your
this way.
All
right, brother. Thanks for talking to us.
All right, that's
Appreciate
been John Eason. Thank you so much. All right, Dominic, who else do we got tonight?
Oh, man. We can go on and on down this list. I know that Craig, who I worked with yesterday, just went to put on his fancy duds. So when he comes out, I'm going to snatch his ass up real quick.
All right, we can get him for a few on here.
Great dude, songwriter. I mean, this guy, it's awesome what he was able to do yesterday. So
absolutely.
The noises you can hear in the background are very much planned to be that way.
Yeah, this is a live show.
We're not in our studio. Craig, can you stop and talk to us for a minute, please? If you're busy, tell me you're busy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Craig here with us. Craig,
hello.
How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks.
Excited about tonight?
I'm very excited about tonight.
Yeah. What has your experience in these? Now, I can speak on your experience from yesterday because I was a part of it, luckily.
Yep.
But other than yesterday, what's this whole thing been to you? What's it meant to you? What's the whole vibe been?
It's been really incredible. I've always been a supporter of our military, our service people. I've got a lot of people who've served in my family, and I just always appreciated that. I've got friends I went to school with, and I watched things change them. I watched experiences change them. And I watched them not have an outlet either and not know how to voice things that they've been through.
Right.
And I think that stuck with me a lot. And then I actually was not asked early. I knew a couple of people that had already been asked to come to this. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. That's great. I'm really happy. Let me know how that goes. I'm going to follow all of it. And then I get a call or message from John Eason asking me to come. I'm like, absolutely, I'm coming.
I'm in.
Yeah. I told my manager, I said, here's the date, clear the calendar, we're going.
Wow.
So,
like I said, I know I've got a good idea what happened yesterday, and I'm going to say it live on here. Thank you for that experience because it meant so much to me, the way you conduct business and your professionalism and respect and all that other stuff. It meant a lot to me.
Thank you. It was absolutely an honor and my pleasure. And, meeting you was a fun thing to start with because you got this positivity oozing out of your pores.
And, he's a natural man.
I try.
Yeah, and you picked my day up a lot, and then we went through our process.
Yeah.
To watch it connect to you.
Yeah.
And then when it connected to you, it was automatically connected to us.
Yeah.
And it flowed.
I said it on my podcast last night, and I've said it again. It definitely felt like I was supposed to be in the room with you two.
Yeah.
I think whatever artist I would have worked with yesterday, I know it would have been a great experience. But the way that you and I and Hal sat down, it felt like we were supposed to be in that little room together.
I really believe that. That was my first write with Hal Odell, and he's known in Nashville. He's a really great songwriter.
Yeah.
And we've crossed paths before. But sitting down together and sharing our process between each other and then with you, and all of a sudden it's just on.
Yeah.
All three of us are just walking down the trail together.
You know what, Jason, I'm talking to you too, but yesterday when we started writing, Craig and Hal both got their guitars out.
Yeah.
They asked me, like I told you, what kind of music do you more relate to? I said heavy. With that, Hal just comes with this riff, and it's got that heavy kind of country vibe, strong chords. I don't want to say it incorrectly, but when we kind of started at it, I saw Craig, he didn't sit back, but he had this vibe about him. And the next thing I know, he opens up his guitar case and sets his guitar back down.
Yeah.
And he started telling me sometimes you got to know when to let another artist kind of take the lead on this thing. And to me, not being a musical artist, I'm thinking everybody wants that. Everybody wants the riff. Everybody wants the lyrics. And the way these guys no, you're going to handle this. I'll handle this. So Craig's over here writing and doing his process, and then Hal's over here doing his process. It was so cool to me to see these guys work together and share this experience instead of trying to get to the top of that mountain and be the only one there by themselves. You know, so that I appreciate you for that, like knowing that I know you would have done a great job. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking that away from you at all, but knowing what you knew, it was very surprising and very it was cool for me to watch.
Well, thank you, and I honestly I feel like I can say this, that all of the writers that came on this trip, I believe they're all of that mindset, and I had a chance to do it. Hal brought that thing out. And he slapped some Swamp Funk on it, and you said, "Man, yeah," and lit up, yeah. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, I'm with you. Enough about me. The rest of your experience with the other veterans real quick. I know you got to go.
Oh, it's been absolutely amazing. There's been a connection every time of some kind. It does differ between the experiences and the age.
Age, for sure.
Well, you got somebody that served in Vietnam. They've had a long time for that to marinate.
Very much.
And, some of them have figured it out and some of them haven't.
Right.
Some of them came from a generation where you didn't talk about it.
No opportunity.
No, you put it in your pocket and you kept it there because you got to take care of family, business, whatever.
Right.
And the whole time it's eaten away. And I really believe that I've seen a couple of times where that stuff that was hidden, that probably has been a thorn, in their sides, a burr under their saddle, was finally, I don't know if it was removed or not, but I know that it was lessened at least.
John said it great when he said opening up that pressure valve a little bit.
Perfect.
And I think that's a very
perfect way to
great
say
description on what you guys do.
Well, it doesn't take away the problem, but it gives an avenue for healing.
Man, just a little bit of relief sometimes, just a day, just while you're cutting the grass, if you don't have to think about and you've got your own stuff in your personal life, but you know that feeling when you just get to trim the hedges and not worry about that thing for an hour.
A word we heard earlier was therapeutic.
It's not,
And it's actually therapeutic to us, because what people don't understand with the songwriters is we're always scraping. We're always scraping. We're always writing.
Sure.
It's not always friendly. It's not always fun. And a lot of times it doesn't mean anything other than we're trying to pitch a song for $1.
Right.
We know that. Sometimes we write for ourselves, and those get filed differently.
Yeah.
But when we're here and we see a song making a difference, man, it's hard not to.
Different gear.
It's a different gear.
Yeah.
And we're part of it. We tend to be empathetic because that makes us songwriters.
Right.
But when you've got those emotions rolling out at you and you say, oh, I wrote something that mattered to somebody, and it's your words. We took your words,
sure,
but we're part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You helped. You let us be part of it. You let us into your lives.
Absolutely.
And man, I can't thank you enough. It's just an honor to be here.
Well, thank you too, sir. I appreciate you, and look forward to seeing you out there. We're gonna have some fun tonight.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. Hey, plug your website with the card you gave me, please.
Sure. You can find me at CraigHendricksMusic.com. You can find me on ReverbNation.com/Craig Hendricks. My music is all over iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube Music, everywhere you want to look for it. Craig Hendricks. You can find me there.
Awesome. Check them out.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you in there.
All right.
All right, that's been Craig Hendricks. Thank you so much. And Dominic, who else do we have tonight?
Mr. John J. Kennedy, thank you for coming and talking to us for a few.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me out.
Absolutely. My name's Dominic. I didn't get the chance to meet you yesterday. We were running around back and forth, so it is great to meet you. Thanks for coming up.
Right. Yeah.
This is my partner, Jason.
Hey,
Nice to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you.
So, how long? What's your background? What's your history in music?
Okay. So
I know it's a long story, but
it is a long story. I started playing guitar when I was in first grade. And,
yeah.
I studied music all through school. I spent a number of years on the West Coast playing music. I moved to Nashville in 2006. And been, focusing on writing songs and playing as much as I can since I've been in Nashville. I now live in Mount Juliet, which is about 10 miles east of Nashville. That's where Charlie Daniels was from.
Okay.
So
you get in and out of the chaos as you please.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, but most of the time I'm playing in Nashville 3 or 4 times a week.
Right on.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So how did you get invited, asked, looped into this whole awesome thing you guys got going on? How'd you become a part of this team?
Well, one of the main guys behind this is John Eason.
Uh-huh.
And I met John. John also lives in Mount Juliet.
Okay.
And I met John shortly after we moved to Mount Juliet. And him and I got talking about music, and we realized we had a lot of things in common. So John and I got together, and we wrote a couple songs. And, we've always just kept in touch. So John knows that veterans issues are very important to me.
Right.
And so, one day I just got a message that popped up, and it said, hey, we're putting this benefit together for veterans.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be like 5 days, and it's, we're going to Missouri and stuff. And it was Labor Day weekend, which is also me and my wife's anniversary.
Nice.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary,
Oh,
sir.
she's pissed at you for not being home.
So I had to tell her, I said, look, man, I said, we'll celebrate when I get home.
Yeah.
But I got to do this.
I got something I have to do.
I said, because...
Well, as a veteran myself and being part of this thing, thank you for doing that. I don't know how well that would have went over with my wife, but I'm glad your wife's awesome and she let that fly.
Oh, well, I tell you what, man, people, since we've been in town, have just been so good to us.
Have they?
I mean, I've never felt this much love,
I'm happy to hear that, man.
Yeah,
Not that I thought anything otherwise, but I'm happy to hear that.
Oh, no, y'all are taking great care of us.
That's great.
And we've just enjoyed meeting with the veterans and talking to them, and at times it's been, very, very emotionally draining, but in a good way.
Right.
Because, we're here to tell their story. And, people are thanking us. They don't need to be thanking us. They need to be thanking them.
Of course.
And you, because you're a veteran too.
Thank you.
So, we thank all the veterans for their service and for sacrificing the way they have. Because it's through people like that we get to do what we do.
Yeah.
We travel around and share our music with
That's
the world.
great, man.
So if we can help, share someone else's story, there's nothing better that we can do.
Without getting too specific, because you guys are writing songs about this stuff and we want to hear them live. Did anything kind of jump out at you these past couple days? And I know every story has an effect, but was there anything you were just kind of like blown away by?
Yeah. A lot of the people that we talked to were Vietnam vets. And my father was a Vietnam vet. He was in the Air Force during Vietnam, and, he flew missions over there and stuff. But, he wasn't on the ground fighting, but, he went
Still
through
there.
some stuff, too.
Still there.
So I've heard a lot of those stories, but, it just kind of breaks your heart the way those guys were treated when they were brought back home.
Yeah.
Because they weren't really given the respect that they deserved.
No way.
And, that's one of the reasons why it's so important that we do this, because those guys deserve that. And if they didn't get it when they came back and they weren't treated, with all that much love at all. So it's up to
all of us.
Yes,
all of us,
yes,
artists and not. So
right.
Well, hey, man, thank you very much for stopping by and talking to us. We're about at game time. We know you got a lot of stuff to do, so thank you so much for coming in.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you, man. And again, happy anniversary for you.
We'll see you out there. Have fun. Yeah. All right, next up, we've got a close personal friend of mine, Mr. Hal Odell. How you doing, buddy?
100%.
Okay, Mr. Hal Odell, how you doing?
I'm well, Dom.
Yeah. I want to tell you, like I told Craig, the experience yesterday, I need to thank you for that, because it's not often that you get that kind of respect and dedication and motivation and sincerity coming from folks. In my life, I've been treated very well as a veteran, so I'm not saying I went through some of this, but the way you guys were so respectful and heartfelt and how you guys did it, what I think to the best of your ability, I need to let you know I really do appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's such an honor to be in the writing room with people like yourself that are willing to put these heavy feelings out there and these things that part of you might say, I'd like to keep that hidden, but I can speak for all of y'all, and particularly you. The guy said, nope, this is the real thing that I went through, and I want that in the song, and you sing it, and we'll put it out there.
Yeah.
So thank you. I mean, your honesty and your willingness to let us into your head.
I had a great time.
Oh.
I thought it was a blast. And like I was telling Craig and Jason here, we've talked about it. The way you guys were you wanted it to be right. Now, of course, as a Marine, my song that you wrote, your song that you wrote, has it's a little heavier on the Marine Corps side, but you a couple different times had asked me, would you say this? Is this the way you guys talk? And a few of the times it was yes, and a couple it was no. And the way you were receptive to that, because you might think of an artist like, well, this is the way I'm going to write it because this sounds better. But you would not let that happen. You held that as a personal responsibility to make sure that it was as close to perfect as we could get.
Absolutely. And one of my biggest mentors told me once, a woman named Mary Gaucher, who actually does a lot of work in the veterans community. Anyway, she was talking about writing, and she said, you need to respect your audience and tell them the truth. And
wow, that's good.
Even if it's not, we're not necessarily telling a, nonfiction story, but listening, when we talked about you being a Marine, if we filter that song through the experience of a Marine and don't alter that, people will listen that are Marines will say, yeah, that's right. That's true, even if they don't know you from Adam. As opposed to, like we talked, me sitting by myself and writing a song about what I think Marines are based on having watched TV.
Right.
Then you guys would listen and say, yeah, it's a fine story, but that's BS.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Well, and it is kind of branch wide too, right? So if you write a song about the Army, I might not know exactly what that specific line or verse is, but I got a good idea of what you're saying,
Exactly. And I would like to think that the people that would listen to your song about being a Marine will understand the bigger issues of faithfulness and integrity and pain and loss, because those things are universal.
Yeah, struggle.
But we have to tell them, if we're telling that story as a Marine, we have to tell it right.
As a Marine, right.
As a Marine.
Right. So how did you, how were you invited? How did you get the call? How did this whole thing happen to where you ended up here in St. Louis, Missouri?
Well, it's interesting doing this kind of writing that we've done this weekend, because John Eason, who really spearheaded putting this together, is one of the artists that I write most with in Nashville. We've written for years.
Really?
We've written hundreds of songs. And we've written a lot of heartfelt songs about his experience in the Air Force and in the service and coming home and recovering from that.
Post-service, yeah.
Post-service.
Yeah.
A lot of things that were heavy and deep, and there were tears, and songs like Brother, I've Been There that he does. And so he and I have such a bond being able to sing these songs. He and I and another friend of ours named Zach Hennard that write most all the songs that John releases. And when he said he was going to do this, he said, you got to come. And I said, I'm there.
That's the story. That's it. Wow.
And I'm the one that's been blessed this weekend being here. And the other thing that you need to know is the community of writers in Nashville is pretty close.
Yeah.
And as word of this spread, so many people would contact me, hey, put a good word in for me on that. Or it's full, can I do that next year?
Right.
Who's putting this together? There's a huge willingness on the part of songwriters to use our gifts, to help.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
I love to hear that.
And, we talked, you guys could have called and said, hey, we need some volunteer help. It'd be nice if you could come up and mow our grass and pick up trash and paint the walls. And we could do things like that.
Yeah.
But anybody could do things like that.
This is your field.
This is our, I'd like to think it's a gift.
It's
a
for
gift
sure.
and a talent
Absolutely.
and a discipline.
Absolutely.
But this is something that we can bring and say, here's something special. If it's useful to you, take it. We'll bring it.
Well, Jason and I were talking. We are going to sponsor our own trip down to Nashville, and we're going to get all you. And we want to come to each individual gig and venue, and we want to podcast there. I've never been to Nashville, so I'm missing out.
All right, you're committed now.
I'm in.
No backtracking.
Now I can't. I might have.
It's only 5 hours away.
I might
Come
have
on,
a wife
Dom.
and a few kids with me because I don't know. But
you bring the whole team.
All right.
Nashville is pretty much PG-13.
Yeah,
so bring everybody.
I got to ask you a question because it's just an experience I had yesterday. When you asked me what kind of music do I generally listen to, and I said heavy, why did you go with that chord, or what's the proper way to say that in musical? Like
the kind of swampy blues sound.
It fit so perfect.
Well,
is that just freestyle? Like you just came up with that?
I have tools in my toolbox.
Sure.
Just like you, I'm thinking as a Marine, given some tasks, there's not always one way to do a task.
Yeah.
You're going to adapt what you do to the need of the situation. And so for me, if I hadn't asked that and we had written sort of a straight up do country song, you would have been like, oh, thanks, that's nice, but that's not me. And so before we ever went down that road, we needed to know what resonates with Dom so that Dom feels ownership of this thing. Because
I love that.
You're in that room, you were in the seat normally occupied by the artist.
Right.
And my goal in every write with the artist is when they leave, they say, this is just the song I had in my head, but I didn't know how to sing it.
Right.
I didn't know how to tell it. Because if I don't do that, I don't need to be there. If I don't bring anything to the table, I'm just sucking up air.
It connected with me, like, and of course I'm going to be a fan of it because we worked on it and stuff like that, but it's a song I'd listen to in my truck. It really is,
That gets me right there, man.
And I think that's the goal, I think that was the whole thing.
Craig and I were just so honored that you let us be there and shared that time, and were willing to do the heavy lifting to get it right.
Right.
And there were one time in particular that I had steered us down a direction that wasn't quite right, and you guys were both, that's okay, but it's not right. And we just pulled those words out and started again and found the right place. And so that was you doing the heavy lifting so that with a finished product you can listen to and say, that's me. Those are my words coming out of that guy's mouth.
Well, telling a professional singer-songwriter that something isn't right, I'm like, I can't say that, but you're right. We all kind of got together and we're like, it works, but it doesn't fit there.
Listen, anybody that likes music has a fan hat, and I can be in the songwrite and for 10 seconds take off my songwriter hat, put on my fan hat and say, I don't really like that.
Yeah.
And I don't need to know why. It doesn't matter why.
Right.
I like it. It works. I don't like it. Got to change.
I think that openness to different possibilities and,
staying curious, man, and just in how you can do it.
Well, the creativity of it.
Yeah.
We were talking and it's like there is a way, I'm sure, to write a template. That's the word I was looking for 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, you just got it.
I'm sure there's a template to write a song, but the way these guys were able to go in and out of that and not stick to any guidelines. They did, you know what I mean? They had this creative vision and it's like you just watch it keep building and the wheels turning and then they came up with this thing and I'm like, I don't understand it at all, but it's beautiful to watch.
But you explained an analogous situation in your past life to that, clearing a room as a Marine. And I could watch you do that, and I could say, there was no rhyme or reason. He just sort of did stuff, and it worked.
Yeah.
And in your head, you'd say, no, it might look like that.
You pie a door for this reason.
And likewise in the songwriting, and I know it is, to some extent, it is loose and changes from time to time. But but you do have a direction that you're trying to follow. You're trying to keep everything pointed toward the main idea.
Yeah.
You're trying to get verses that accomplish one task in the song and the chorus that accomplishes a different task. So you do have this general guideline in your head, but you're right, there are a lot of different ways you can do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you start with a little musical lick that you think, that's cool, let's build a song around that.
Which is kind of what you did.
That's right, with that song we did.
You did. Because immediately I felt that, I was like, hey, that's something I can vibe with.
And sometimes it's a phrase, sometimes it's a little story someone heard.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of ways to end up across the finish line. And it's that curiosity that you talked about. You have to be willing to, what if we did that? Well, what about that?
The what if.
And you throw something out and say, well, I don't like that, but that made me think of this other thing.
Yeah.
And you end up down a road that you never thought you'd go down.
Yeah.
And it's being curious. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the experience yesterday. We know you've got stuff to do in there. We appreciate you stopping by and talking to us.
Hal, it was a pleasure, man. Appreciate you coming by.
Look forward
much.
forward to seeing you up there on stage, brother.
We're going to wail tonight.
I think we might.
We're going to wail and we're going to cry and we're going to laugh.
We might embarrass my family a little bit, but it's still a secret.
They owe you.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. That's been Hal Odell here at St. Charles County at the O'Fallon Elks Lodge.
I don't know what else we've got going on. I mean, are we getting close to game time?
I think we're getting close to game time. I think we might want to wrap this up, Dom.
Yeah, we can put all this stuff away and go enjoy the show for a little while.
Do you want to take us out?
I want to take everybody out. Thanks, Hal. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, take us out, Dom.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for just checking us out. We wish you could all be here, but we've got a seat capacity that we can't get through. So thank you so much, and we will see you guys soon. The Dog Tag Podcast out.